Hello, art and design. So, your project that you are starting to work on right now that you have been researching an artist for is going to be to actually work in interior design. So, part of art and design is learning about different careers, different things that you can do with an art background. I have friends who actually have gone to college at UW Stout, actually. So nice shirt here, for interior design, and including a friend of mine that works in Minneapolis now as an interior designer. So what is interior design? It kind of goes hand in hand with, like, for example, architecture, but it's about the design of the interior, the inside of your house. Specifically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a design for the interior of a room in a home. So that means that it doesn't have to be your home. It can be. If you want to really redesign your own room from what it looks like, you absolutely can create a drawing or create a 3D sculpture. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means to remake your own room. But it doesn't have to be. You can create something that you don't have in your house at all, like maybe an entertainment center, like an entertainment room or a game room or a playroom or something like that. So it can be something that is not even in your house, or it can be a completely different bedroom than your bedroom. So what you are going to be doing first of all. Now, you look at this artwork behind me. Okay, this artwork behind me, you will see that it has some of the same or similar colors to it that you see on the wall. That is part of interior design. So interior designers a lot of times have some kind of inspiration for the work that they do. It might be that the homeowner whose house they're designing has an artwork that they really love and they want the whole room designed around it. So they may take, for example, not just the colors that you see in it, maybe the contrast between dark and light that you see, because you can see that there's a lot of contrast between, like, the dark letters, the dark cool letters, and then like the lighter warmer letters and background that are on there. So it can be contrast like that. Also, something else to notice about this artwork behind me is how it uses like very straight edges. Okay, things are very, like, it's stenciled, so they're very straight edges. It's very sharply cut off. So, maybe using furniture that has like very, very straight edges rather than things that are more curvy, because it goes better with the design, with the style that is in the artwork. Something else that I might think about too is that it kind of has this smudgy paintery look on there. So some of the textures that I use in maybe some of the pillows that I put in the room might have a texture that has a smudgy or a paintery kind of look to it. So there are lots of things to think about when you're doing interior design beyond just the idea of, like, I'm going to create artwork that has some colors like this thing has in it. Or, I'm going to, like, have a couple things that have similar things to it. So you really want to think about how you are using that artwork that you chose to design the entire space of your room. From what's on the floor, what's on the walls, what does the furniture look like? What does the space look like? You really, it's completely open and up to you to figure out, like, how would you design basically your dream room based off of that artwork that you saw. So say, for example, that you were an interior designer, and there was a person who absolutely loved Van Gogh, and they wanted their room to be designed like Starry Night. You would really have to think about, like, the colors, not just the colors, but definitely the colors, but the contrast between, like, the blues and the oranges that are in it, and some of those kind of swirly designs that are in it. And how could you incorporate some of that into the room? Obviously, much, much different than, somebody who, designs a room based off of this, where it has very, very straight edges, because Vincent van Gogh's artwork does not have those straight edges. It's very swirly, very like heavy, thick texture in the paint. So how a room with that would be designed would be very, very different from how you would design a room around, or using that as an inspiration. Okay. So your job then is going to be to start drawing out your ideas for what your furniture is going to look like. Your bed doesn't have to be a rectangle, right? Maybe it works with an artwork like this, but it might not work with an artwork like, for example, Dali, who has these melting clocks. Maybe you want to have a bed that's very oddly shaped. It's really completely up to you what you choose to do as far as the shapes, the forms of the furniture that is in the room. What you put as far as the curtains on the wall, on the windows. It could even be like what shape the windows are. So really think about it. Like, get creative with this. Like, how can you use the things that you see in that artwork to inspire everything that is inside of that room, to make it so that if somebody wanted to have a starry night room, or they wanted to have a stenciled print made room, like based off of something like that, how would you design it, the entire room, so it really had that style to the entire thing? Okay. So like I said, your job is going to be starting to work on your ideas as far as what you want things to look like. But beyond that, then it's also for you to figure out if you want to make yours 2D, that means drawing it, or if you want to make yours 3D. Now, obviously, 3D means that you're going to have materials for it. But materials for making something 3D can be as simple as having like a cereal box, or using something like a shoebox, or so boxes are really, really great, especially like those thinner boxes like cereal boxes, and mac and cheese boxes or things like that. But still need to have something like glue and tape, and other ways to add color. But you don't have to, again, just use color like with colored pencils, or with markers. You can use wrapping paper. You can use pieces of fabric. If you have old clothing, you can use that for curtains. So again, you can definitely stick to a 2D, and even with 2D, you can collage in things. Like you can collage in wrapping paper. You can collage in old samples of wallpaper or something like that you might have. You can add like little details using like little sequins, and you can glue those on. So your two-dimensional ones can also have some 3D things or some objects that are added to them as well and collaged on, glued on as well. Okay, so be creative, come up with your ideas. But again, you want to be able to look at that artwork that you chose when you were doing your artist assessment, or your artist research, and figure out what colors, what textures, what kinds of materials. If it's really, really smooth, it's going to have different kinds of materials than if you have something that has a lot of really heavy texture to it. So satins, if something's really smooth versus something that is really textured, maybe you'd have more like crushed velvets or something. Okay. So again, enjoy it, have fun with it, go with it. You chose the artist that you did because you liked the artwork that you saw. So now you get to create a whole room based off of the artwork that you saw that you loved.